first, let us go to the phone lines and welcome in our first guest of the day. He is now a former UFC fighter. He is a retired UFC fighter, one of the fighters. He's one of the pioneers of Canadian MMA. And on Friday, he officially announced his new sports management firm. Wanted to talk to Patrick Cote about this. He's kind enough to join us on the phone. Patrick, are you there?
But yeah, I'm here. Thanks, man.
Good to have you on the show. So why did you launch this? Why did you feel the need that, this was the right thing to do now that you're retired from MMA?
You know what? This is a firm not only for MMA athletes, but for a different kind of sport. We are not going into hockey; it's too complicated. But we're gonna have some tennis player and football player. But right now, our focus it's on MMA fighters and a boxer because that's something that I know very, very well. And my partner is something who's working with the law. So we're like bulletproof now. If we're going something's going bad with contract and negotiation. And the reason why I did that is because the main focus was to represent athletes in their sport, to give them the luxury of having the freedom of thinking about training and performing and something like that, and building their brand. That is something very important now, because the sports performance are not enough now. If you want to live about the sport, if you want to live well, you have to build your brand. You need to be able to sell yourself, in a good way. And this is why I started especially in MMA world and box world. There's not any union or something like that. They protect the fighters. So I decided to do that, to do my part, to try to help them, and especially the young kid and the young prospect. That's our main goal, to build them.
Do you recall when you first started thinking that this was something that you wanted to do upon retiring?
Not at all. Not at all. That's actually, I came with this idea because a lot of people knows me and know that what I did outside the cage, outside the MMA world, I was able to build my brand, to build my name, and doing a lot of stuff outside the octagon, but using this sport by grabbing some opportunity left and right. And now I'm touching like everything now because I was able to see this opportunity and all those things. So a lot of people told me that, why you don't do that? Why are you not trying to help those guys? And you're going to be the perfect guy, the perfect fit guy to do that. And I said, yeah, maybe we'll see. If I have the right partner with me, maybe we're gonna launch something. And I found my partner. He's in the sport, since 18 years. He's been a lawyer for the NHL. He's been the lawyer for a lot of hockey, professional hockey players. So he knows the sport very well. So right now, that was a guy who I needed, and it's going pretty well.
Your experiences, when you were a fighter with management, were they good, or do you wish that, it was a little different? Do you wish that you had a company like this around where you would have better relationships, get things that you wanted? How would you describe, when you were a fighter, your experience with management?
The strength of our business or our firm, it's me. I don't want to sound cocky, but I know exactly what the fighters need, what athletes need. I've been there. I've been in those shorts. I know exactly what it's the hard part about, having some maybe medicals on the short notice, or just having, free time when I needed too much promotion, or, just dealing with the press or the promotion or all those things. So, for sure. I had some good and really bad experience with managing during my career, but me, seriously, and I'm honest with that. I'm honest with my firm, with my business. I really, really want to help those guys. I'm not working for nothing, for sure. I'm not working free, but I know that my experience and the partner I have, we have the perfect combination to help those guys, and it's like we have everything with the network I have. It's a no-brainer that you want to deal with a firm like that.
And so you mentioned that there's no union in the sport, and this has been a hot topic in MMA. Do you feel like there should be one?
Oh, I think so, and it's not against any promotion. It's not. It's just for the protection of the fighters. This is a really hard sport, and especially some fighters who don't know how to sell them, how to build their brand. At the end of their career, they have nothing. So that's the thing too, and that's why we're gonna try to teach them and putting them on a lot of opportunity to build their name. So this is the most important thing right now about the sport, and especially in MMA, because yes, you have to win, but you have to put people in the stand to come to see you, and that's how we're gonna be able probably to have a better life after when you get retired. Because you know what, in this combat sport, your career can end tomorrow. This is a very, very hard sport, a contact sport, a dangerous sport. So you have to think about not only tomorrow, but next year, in 10 years, in 20 years, what is going to happen about that.
Speaking of next year, 10 years, 20 years, do you think that there will ever be a union for MMA?
It's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard. You know what? The last time they tried it, I don't think we could have a better group to try to start that. Big names like Georges St-Pierre, Ken Velasquez, Tim Kennedy. That was huge name. They tried to build something, but like we saw that it didn't work, and that wasn't the first try. And I have a really, really big doubt that it's gonna happen one day. It's because all the fighters, all the boxers or MMA guy will have to be all together on the one cause or something like that. And I have big doubt it's gonna happen. So that's why people like me who start a management like that, a firm like that, it's important because I know all the trap. I know what is good for you, what's not good for you, and it's not only in MMA. It's every sport. We have to build your name. That's the most important thing.
In particular, with the biggest organization in the sport, the UFC, it feels like maybe over time they've wanted to have less and less interaction with managers, and because there's no sponsorship now, you sign these long contracts. I've heard from a lot of fighters who say, I could just do it myself. Why do you think a fighter needs a manager in this given era that we're living in right now for MMA, and in particular the UFC?
I think they're right. You know what? A normal manager, I don't think it's worth it to give money if they just negotiate a contract. Right now you're right. But it's different now because with IMG and WMG, it's not like familiar like before. It's more business now. So I think you need somebody who know the business, who know the justice, who know the law, to just make sure that you're not going to sign anything that you don't want it. But a manager on another one, on that case, you're right. It's not a big difference. The difference with a firm like that, like mine, we're gonna build your name. We're gonna try to build your name. We're gonna negotiate your contract, but we're gonna put everywhere we know with our network that I built in the last 15 years that it's worth millions. Trust me. I have everything in my phone. Everybody I knows about TV, media, all organization, sponsorship. I have good relationship with everybody, and I built that for the last 15 years. If I call somebody, he's gonna answer me. I know that I don't have any bad relationship with anybody. So that's the strength of our company.
And so you currently have a few fighters signed to the management team, right?
Exactly. I have 7 fighters. It's a young guys. Those guys, I think they can. I have three guys. I really think they can make a big wave in the industry, in the MMA world. I have a meeting with tennis player and football guys next week, and a couple boxer too. And you know what? When I launched that Friday, I was expecting that it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be cool, it's gonna be a big news, but not like that. Since Friday, I'm out of my mind. You know what?
Oh, really?
It's crazy. I really, really didn't think that it will be like a big impact like that. A lot of people want to work with me, want to work with us, want to join the firm. A lot of people want to be represented about the firm. And you know what? I don't think that I stole any of this attention from anybody. You know, I've always been true about my fighting style. I've always been true with a true guy about my sponsorship relationship. And today, I think people have confidence and they want to sign them in the frame because they want to sign with me because they know they're going to be in good hands.
You do TV work in Quebec. Are you still going to do that now that you've launched this?
Oh, for sure. I'm a busy guy. I'm opening a sports facility in December too, and that's cool. And you know what? Like I said, I didn't expect that this thing would be that big, that fast. But hey, it's fun, and I have the luxury now that I will be able to choose whoever I want in the firm, and that's something that I didn't expect.
And by the way, I mean you walked away from the sport in April, so we're now what 7 months? 7 months, yeah, 7 months removed since your last fight. What has the transition been like for you? Has it been difficult at times? I mean, to not be an active fighter anymore.
Not really seriously. That I knew it before my last fight. That would be my last fight. Even with the win, that wasn't an emotional decision. And you know what? I'm still working for the UFC as a French commentator. So I'm still close to that sport, and I'm still training something like that. But you know what? To be honest with you, I don't miss the to be in the cage. I don't miss the diet for sure. But I don't. I'm okay with that. I'm really peaceful with that. I have a family now. I have a little daughter. I can spend more time with her. It's, you know what, I was preparing my after career since, 3 or 4 years. And even if I was well prepared, I'm launching some new project like this firm. So I'm not stopping, moving forward. And it's fun. I have a lot of fun right now.
Well, by the way, you also were in New York here for UFC 217 GSP. That was a big deal, obviously, in Quebec. Honestly, were you surprised by how he looked? Were you surprised that he won? Did you think that, it seemed like everyone was picking against him? What did you think going into the fight?
A lot of things surprised me during that night, especially the response of the crowd. That was insane. I closed my eyes and I was like, my head, I'm in Montreal. That's insane how the crowd was loud about George. Every time he was on the big screen, when he arrived, and every time they show him on the locker room, and when he walked in the cage, I was expecting people, being happy, but like that was just unreal. That was like in Montreal. And he looked good. He looks very, very good. I was happy for him because he has a lot of pressure. When he said that, the pressure was all on Michael, I don't think it's true because, you know what, if he was losing that fight, everybody will talk about George losing that fight, not Bisping winning that fight. So all the pressure, all the promotion first was around the GSP comeback and not Bisping defending his belt. So I think he did very, very well. I have big doubt that he's going to fight at 185 again, but I think he did an amazing job.
You don't think he fights at middleweight anymore?
I have big doubt. I don't have any inside info. We're not close that we used to be like a couple of years ago. But what he said about the hard thing that he had to gain weight and something like that. I don't know. I don't want to take anything away from Bisping. I like this guy. He's a worker. He's an amazing fighter. But you know what? I think that he had a great opportunity to become champion. But George against Whitaker, George against big guy like Romero or something like that. I don't know. George is a super athlete, but he doesn't have anything to prove against those big guys. So I think he's not going to fight at 185 anymore. Do you
think there's a chance he never fights again?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know what? I think I will not be surprised if you said that, okay, that's over. I just wanted to feel that feeling again. And you know why I say that is because it took him so much time to get out of the cage. He was staying in the cage and he was kind of feeling everything. He was able to grab about, all the emotion, everything. He was in the cage for almost 20 minutes after the fight. So he was looking away, he was looking everything, and he looks like he was grabbing all the energy, and just to say that, all right, that was that, I did it, and now I'm not going to miss that anymore. So I don't know. This is the feeling I had when I was at the MSG, but we'll see. But no, I'm not going to be surprised if he's done with fighting.
I spoke about it on my show. I even spoke about it with George, the interview that you did with his mentor, Christophe Midou, and he was very against it. I'm wondering if you've talked to him about the fight and how George looked, and were you hearing that in the Montreal MMA scene from other people that, he wasn't looking good going into the fight?
One of my friends was training with him, and he told me that George, he was sick when Christophe Midou was here in Montreal for a couple of days only. That's the time that George was sick, and I heard that from other people that they were at the gym with him. And when Christophe left, that was 2 weeks before the fight. And 4 or 5 guys after that told me that, listen, this is not the same George that they used to be in a week ago. He's just unreal. He's back on a good track, and But you know what? This is in training camp. I don't remember last time I did in a training camp and I didn't get sick. It's very, really hard for the body. It's really hard, especially when you do a diet. He didn't do a diet, but that was another thing, that gaining weight. It's not easy like it used. It's not easy that. Like everybody think it is. You have to do it in the right way. And I didn't talk to Christophe yet, but I'm sure that he's very, very happy about George winning. That's what he wanted, to win, and George is not seriously injured. I felt that he was more talking like a big brother. That's what I felt. But for sure, what he said, about everything, it was a little bit shocking.
Do you have like a dream? Like, okay, if George comes back one time, do you want to see him fight Conor? Do you want to see him fight Woodley? Do you want to see? Do you have like a perfect match for him in your mind that you'd like to see him be a part of? Because look at how the pay-per-view numbers did. Clearly, he's still a draw. Clearly, as you said, people are going nuts for him at MSG. He's still, the UFC needs someone like him around, especially in Canada. What would you like to see him do as far as his next fight, if he fights again?
You're right, man. He's still the pay-per-view king. That's unreal. George is a superstar. It's unreal. After 4 years, after all those things happened in the last 4 years, he got the response like that about fans, about pay-per-view buys. It's just unreal, especially here in Canada, like you said. George came back to make the history. That's what he wanted. To come back after 4 years. Nobody did that. And he's winning the title with 3 other guys that did that in the past, like BJ Penn, Conor, and Randy Couture. And I don't know if he's coming back. He's going to come back to mark the history again. I think that if you want to do that, he has to take another belt. And I don't know if he's going to be able to make 155, but it's not going to be like before 8, 9, or 10 months. It takes time. But if he's coming back and it's not against Conor for a fight or a super fight or something like that, I don't know why. I don't know the reason for him to come back. He doesn't want another belt at 170. It's not going to make any sense. And seriously, it's not going to make the same attention if he's fighting Woodley or anybody else at 170. There's no interesting matchup for George, and I'm not talking about the talent at 170. I'm just talking about money-wise. There's no fight for George that it's very interesting about money-wise now.
Patrick, I wish you the best. It's funny. Last week on the show, I was talking to Tiki Gosen, who you may recall from the early days of your career, and he's now become a manager as well, and he manages the likes of Rampage Jackson and does some work with Roy Nelson. And I was wondering if this is the new transition with the sport being so young and fighters who kind of grew up with it now retiring, they can now be the true great managers. And so now we have another example of that happening. and I think that you're going to do a great job with it. So it's called Predator Management. PredatorManagement.ca is the website. And like I said, I wish you the best, and please keep us posted on any news regarding the management team, any signings you have. I wish you guys nothing but the best in this new venture.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Ariel.
All right, there he is, Patrick Cote, now getting into the management world. It's amazing. We were just talking to Tiki about that.